The BFM Breakfast Grille. Top interviews you can't afford to miss. Presented by the CIMB Group.
Today we are talking to Winnie Chiu, the President and Executive Director of Dorsett Hospitality International, the Hong Kong-listed value hotels group. Winnie, welcome back to the Breakfast Grille.
Good morning, Chuang.
Now, last we spoke in January this year, you were known as Cosmopolito. We discussed your Chinese wallet strategy, where you build and manage 4-star or 3-star hotels in emerging Asia and parts of Europe to cater to a mainly Asian clientele that are fond of shopping and ease of transport. How is this strategy working out and playing out in light of the reported global slowdown?
Okay. Well, I'm glad to say that our strategy remains the same. Our focus is Chinese wallet traveler, so mainly outbound Chinese traveler going to the world. I mean, yes, of course, there's a global slowdown, but if you look at statistics, for example, I mean, Ryanair has a 19% increase in their revenue and 25% increase in their profit. It's more like a shift of their spending behavior and spending pattern. And being in a 3 to 4 star market, which we are in, make us more defensive in this way.
The thing is, right now you've got about 4,900 rooms and about 18 hotels, right? Where is this plan going to be in about 2 years' time?
In 2 years, we will have 25 hotels. This is in the pipeline that we've announced. 25 hotels with over 7,000 rooms.
Okay. Now, in terms of revenue management, this get more complex because, as we understand, you've got one in the UK, one in Singapore.
Actually, we have 2 now in the UK.
2 now in the UK,
Yes.
I beg your pardon. 5 in Malaysia, 5 in China, and 12 in Hong Kong. Does the revenue management equation get more complex because of the disparity of the geography, because of the forex translation, and because of even locational variations?
Sure, that's a lot of questions there, Chuang.
Well, just one,
let me just
management.
yes, of course. let me just break it down. Of course, I mean geographical location change. So we really very much, again, we're in a people industry. So we very much depends on the local knowledge. We very much depends on our GM on ground. One good news is majority of my GM are sales and marketing background. Hence, they can make the decision on ground in terms of how to maximize RevPAR, revenue per available rooms. So what we look at, for example, we have different strategy in different market. Let me just touch maybe a little bit about Hong Kong. For example, in Hong Kong, we have a year-to-date occupancy last year of 96%. So what we actually looked at is how do we increase the RevPAR. So what we did in the last financial year, we tried to, in fact, bring up the room rate, hence for dropping then naturally the occupancy will drop a little bit. But in fact, this actually proves to be better in terms of your profitability because your RevPAR goes up. RevPAR is the revenue per available room. It's obviously a formula from occupancy rate as well as the room rate. So for an example, is our Silka, which is our value hotel chain. The Silka typically in Hong Kong, we are charging about 100 US per room. I mean, I'm talking about, average, despite all the season. So it's about 100 and 120 US. So we've actually increased the price by about 10% on the Silkas, our value chain. And it proves that it makes a lot more money this way.
In terms of going back to the issue of having all your GMs with a sales and service background, you do say that you are a people business, quite rightly so. But do your GMs sometimes, and this is just an assumption, sacrifice relationship in return for better revenue or better margins or better rates?
Sorry, what type of relationships are you talking about?
The typical hotel manager and hotel guest relationship where you want to get some return customers on, 5, 10, 15 years out.
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, it depends. First of all, again, it depends on market. In market like Hong Kong, I mean, we clearly don't have enough rooms in Hong Kong. So therefore, hence, customers will understand that the room rate, it's cyclical. And of course, they would also understand the high room rate. So I would say no in this sense. And again, with everything, it depends on economies of scale. So I mean, it's not just talking about guests, it's talking about other stakeholders, for example, agents, airline, etc., etc. So when you actually, look at the distribution and all that, so it's quite a balanced distribution as well.
In Hong Kong, where you've got your biggest footprint with 12 hotels currently, and when you're running at about 95% occupancies, the assumption then is you try and move to a different profile, a more premium profile of guest. How are you doing that?
then again, it's all value add. At the end of the day, I mean, you don't just move your rate up just by not value add. The reason why we felt comfortable doing that for Silka is what we have done in the last year. It's about value enhancing, and what I always talk about the brand Silka is it's not a budget hotel. It's a value hotel. So hence it sounds expensive, like 3-star, $100+ US, but at the end I'm so happy sometimes when I bump into my guests in the lift core because they're like, oh wow, great, Winnie, I have a free stay, and I was like, wow, is there something wrong with my reception or anything? I was a bit worried there, but what I realized is because they shop in Sasa, they shop in Broadway, so we have this program called Stay Shop and Save. So it's an exclusive program to all our guests, is that their room key card access major discount to to over 50 retailers in Hong Kong. So hence it makes their whole stay more comprehensive. So what I always mean by value is not just value room rate, but the whole value stay experience. We of course also have what we've launched quite successfully is a mini bar at supermarket pricing. And what we're doing next is we're going to have a laundry room within the hotel. So it's all value.
Within China, though, and China is still relatively new for you, 5 right now, perhaps a couple more by the end of 2014, segment margins are still in brackets, which is negative territory.
Yes.
Explain that for us.
Sure. I mean, the thing is, Chuang, a lot of people always ask me about China's strategy. China's huge. You can't have one strategy for the whole of China. So you really look into cities by cities. First of all, we're more into second-tier city. Secondly, rightly said, yes, we have 5 in China, but we've only got 3 in operation. 1 in Shanghai, 1 in Wuhan, and we've just opened Chengdu. And Chengdu, we're still in trial run. I've only opened about 100 rooms out of 500 rooms. And Chengdu, of course, is looking great. The annual occupancy in Chengdu is over 70%. First of all, I think the ramp-up period in China typically is longer. My ramp-up period in Hong Kong, because we have 12 economies of scale as such, that our ramp-up period is less than 3 months, which is very short.
So to the everyday person, what is the ramp-up period?
Ramp-up period is for your rate to reach a
acceptable level.
Yeah, exactly,
okay.
A stabilized level. So in China, the ramp-up period is typically internationally, the ramp-up period is about 6 to 9 months. Of course, it depends which area. So in China, same, and we're quite new in China, and because of the 2 hotels in operations, they were going through, it's an acquisition, and they were going through renovation. So hence it affected the room rate.
I'm talking this morning to Winnie Chiu, the President and Executive Director of Dorsett Hospitality International, the Hong Kong-listed value hotels group. Winnie, after this, more of your views on the Chinese wallet, revenue management, the overseas operations, and the financials of the company. Winnie Chiu, the President and ED of the Hong Kong-listed value hotels group, Dorsett Hospitality International, with us on the Breakfast Grill this morning. Now, Winnie, at hospitality confabs around the world, hotel operators often lament the inability of owners to feel the hotel industry, to really understand the minutiae, the pain of running a hotel. As a relatively young person from a development and construction and retail environment, how able are you? And are these assumptions true in the first place?
Okay, let me just answer part by part. Of course, there's always there's always the owner and manager, the both sides of the stories. One good news about our company, yes, it's a very new company. We've only been listed for about 2 years, but the experience combined in the company is immense. As a family previously, we were owners before using management company. We bought the second Hyatt into Asia. That's in the 70s. That was Bali Hyatt. So I've actually understood, the pain from an owner side, and I've also, now actually also managing third-party management hotel. I've also been on the management side, which is actually great because you see both sides of the picture. And since I was young, I never actually understood because I was also very much involved in the negotiation of management contracts. Again, we're a bunch of very practical people. If we're in the business world, we all understand everyone has to make money. It's a business here, so I never actually understood why, when I was negotiating then on management contract, why, for example, when we're talking about, I don't want to name brands, but why, for example, we're talking about management contract in Shenyang. I have to make a swimming pool because it's part of their brand standard. I mean, Shenyang, you know how cold it is. Actually, you know, you really get 3 months out of that swimming pool. And being a business, sort of a developer background, having a swimming pool, it's, you know, you need a lot of strengthening in your structure because the pool is heavy, right? So again, you know, I think in our company, we're unique in a way that we understand the owner's pain as well. So we are also moving into management contract direction, a more asset-light direction. But the thing is, we're a little bit more compassionate. And I think not foregoing the brand the brand sort of standard and all that, but we're a little bit more compassionate and understand the business more. We look at yield per square feet, not just yield per room. So what we've worked with a few management contract. For example, I'll just give solid examples easier. For example, the Mercer in Hong Kong, that's one of our boutique hotel. It's around. So that hotel itself is a management contract. We sold that post listing, and we've never really, I mean, we have a small coffee shop. We've never really asked for like a real, in a lot of management contract, they wanted 3 restaurants, things like that, but we're practical. And what we've also done is that we also work with a lot of restaurants. In fact, I just got a report. The restaurant we have there, we lease out our restaurant. That's actually why we have such high GOP as well. And I just got a report, the Michelin star guide that was out in Hong Kong yesterday. The restaurant that we leased to it's received 2 Michelin star. So the owners are happy and we are happy, because at the end, you don't ride with the pain. We take a flat rental from the restaurant, and also the hotel is very profitable. So again, very practical way of approaching it.
So diving into your strategy, Winnie, 95% of your rooms are owned, and the vast majority of your revenue comes from the rooms themselves. Now, was this deliberate? Was this planned from the get-go, or did it just happen this way in the last couple of years?
I think this is very much deliberate on our side. Handling F&B is not the easiest, and I think again with our expertise and all that, room focus is better and leave the expert in their own jobs, so in their own territory. So what we do, we partner with a lot of good restaurants. In fact, just now I highlighted Yoshitake, which has 2 Michelin star. In fact, we have about 3-4 restaurants in the chain that has 1 or 2 Michelin star, which is quite incredible considering we're more 3 to 4 star.
Well, in the first place, how did you get a Michelin starred restaurant to house in a value hotel?
Okay, first of all, I love to eat myself. So I spend, and also again from a bit of a retail background here, it's time consuming. We spend a lot of time attracting good tenants here. Just another example, for example, our hotel in Shanghai, now the Dorsett Shanghai, used to be Yu Shanghai. We have Xinguang there. Now it's a hairy crab season. I read their revenue report. They made over 2-point-something million that this last month because it's hairy crab. So again, I spent lots of time talking to the owner and attracting him, to come to open because their old shop was not very beautiful. Attract them to come to our hotel. We of course renovate for them, and it's proven this formula is very successful because not just I get a very good income from the rental. In fact, during the season, because it's hairy crab, they rent my meeting room at night because typically not many people use meeting rooms at night, so they rent our meeting room at night for the hairy crab feast too. So it's like, wow, double whammy.
Today I'm talking to Winnie Chiu, the president and ED of the Hong Kong listed value hotels group Dorsett Hospitality International. Now, diving further into your strategy, Winnie,
yes,
you adjusted EBITDA margins of about 46%. They're said to be better than the 26% enjoyed by your comparable peers. You've talked a bit about the strategy, but apparently, going further into the structure, right? You have a very low staff-to-room ratio. You don't lease hotels, and you have a rabid focus on room revenue. Can you just flesh out, detail out where the additional 20% in margin comes from?
It's a combination because, one reason is, one big one is also because we have in-house interior design team. So we design so from development stage, we actually design the room. And as I mentioned earlier, I do yield per square feet. Hence, that's why it brings up. So for example, I'll just give you another example again. For example, Silke Chunwan. Chunwan is typically relatively new territories in Hong Kong. I get a 90 Hong Kong dollars per square feet. I'm just giving you a range. Typical office there is $20 per square feet, Hong Kong dollars, by the way. So what I'm saying is that, because we're so first of all, we're so room focused, we have a formula to that. We also have a formula. It's so detailed. We even have a formula of the housekeeper. How do we lay out the corridor so they maximize the cleaning per room? And come on, my room is only 12 square meters in the Silka. You of course, one cleaner can clean about 18 rooms. So a typical in the industry is much lower. So hence the staff to room ratio. I mean, there's no real magic formula. It's all very statistical. And also, so the design is one element. Just now I mentioned about F&B. I work with partners. So they actually, so a lot of, again, staff to room ratio is in the hotel industry is a lot because of F&B. So because we rent out majority of our restaurants, that's also the case. And thirdly, because everyone's so rooms focused, at the end it's an alignment of interest. So all my colleagues are so room focused. Therefore, again, profitability goes up that way.
Earlier, you used the word compassion in your business, but the converse, or the inverse of that, is the fact that you are not afraid of selling once you've gotten some kind of stability in your room rates.
But I don't sell my people. I mean, I sell the asset. I love my people.
You're selling your assets, and that's interesting because you're willing to sell at 5% EBITDA to free up cash to build up more hotels, and you're aiming for a CAGR, compounded annual growth rate, of 20+% for ad infinitum, because you're a very young person still.
Yep.
Well, details, please.
I think basically, one thing about us, we're a very young company, Chuang, and I believe that it's a listed company, and I believe, we're a high growth company, so our dollar has to work harder than other people's dollar. I mean, there are a few things I tell my colleagues all the time. I mean, that's probably, when they see me, I always tell them. And there are a few things, there's another phrase, is my favorite phrase in the hotel business. Today's inventory is tomorrow's wastage. So again, everyone in that sales mentality. Talking about selling assets, again, it's the theory behind that our dollar has to work harder than other people's money. So again, if you've seen that in the last, we've been listed for about 2 years, we've already done 3 transactions. We sold the Mercer Hotel, kept the management contract. We sold Central Park. We sold Dorsett Regency Hong Kong, kept the management contract. Just give you a rule of thumb. We sell again, when you buy and sell hotel, you value per key. So we sell our hotel at 4 to 5 million per key. Again, Hong Kong dollars here is just much easier for my brain. And same time, we buy hotels at about 2 to 2.5 million per key. And actually, funny enough, each time we sell, we buy like within that month. In fact, for the last one, Dorsett Regency Hong Kong, that's the one that we sold to China Construction Bank. We sold at 800. The cost of it is 319 million, and we sold at 800 million. And the same day, we actually bought London. I remember it was 30th of September, and it's just 1st of October is a public holiday. So my announcement came a day later.
Speaking of the UK, and I'd like to point out that you've got one there and another one coming up in the next couple of years.
Sure.
But your focus is the Chinese wallet, and I mean the vast majority of your footprint is in Hong Kong, then secondarily China and Malaysia. Now, why pursue the UK when you could easily just focus your resources in your own home continent?
That's a very good question, because I see Hong Kong as a billboard. Having 12 hotels in Hong Kong, and you see that recently I've done the brand alignment. We've changed the name of the Lisco, and a few of our hotels are going through the Dorsett brand alignment thing. So we're really aiming for outbound Chinese traveler. So hence UK is a very attractive place for us. If you look at statistics, the spending of Chinese going overseas, actually this year is China ranks number 3 and overtook UK, like in terms of outbound traveler spending, and we're very bullish about that. So why UK? Again, when Chinese travel overseas, they have to pay a deposit for their visa. So UK's deposit is actually quite reasonable compared to this other parts like US or whatnot. And again, the legal system, I've always mentioned, because we're growing at such rate that I have to make sure that, we don't, that the legal system, accounting system is all aligned. And if you look at location pick too, for example, the first one we've picked, Shepherd's Bush, right opposite Westfield, which is the biggest shopping mall in Europe. I mean, I understand you used to work in London, and I was in London for many years too. And knowing Asians' mentality, Asian women love to shop indoors. So being right opposite Westfield shopping mall, the biggest mall in Europe, that's the China wallet strategy thinking there. And the second acquisition, which we do in 30th of September, the one in Aldgate again, is one stop from Liverpool Street Station, which, they're doing the Heathrow link and all that. And again, that's more for the corporate market. But again, I feel that the area that we're entering in is very, for us, is very comfortable. And another thing I'd also like to highlight about the UK market is the replacement cost. Similarly to what I talked about in Hong Kong, we are selling maybe hotels at 4 to 5 million per key. We're acquiring at lower. So same as London, a finished product of a 4-star to 5-star hotel, I'm talking about Bayswater, B&B, like bed and breakfast and all that, that's going for 4 to 5 million per key, Hong Kong dollars. So again, if you can get things, if you can get like sites where we can add value at about 2 million per key, it's very safe acquisition.
And here's the thing, right? Your dad, Tan Sri David Chiu, Far East, Mainland,
yes,
etc.
last time I checked, he's still my father.
Still your dad. And that's the thing, Far East, the parent, in more ways than one, because your dad isn't there,
yes.
They still own 73% of Dorsett, right?
Yes.
So that's rather too much majority ownership in terms of listed circles, right? Is there any plan to free up more shares, Winnie?
Well, I'm not sitting on their board, so Chuang, I would recommend you do an interview with Tan Sri or our MD there, Mr. Chris Hong.
Well, and here's the rub, you see, because Winnie, you traded about $2 Hong Kong dollars, which is itself a 52-week high, but your net assets per share is $5.50 Hong Kong per share, and that's booked at book value. So clearly, there's a very much of a discount to your true asset value, and part of the reason could be because your free float is so low.
I think at the end of the day, free float is one thing. It's a chicken and egg. I mean, free float then relates to liquidity. But if you look at my liquidity, that's something I'm also quite happy. I'm actually trading at similar liquidity. I'm talking about volume the volume of the shares trade. It's very similar to my comps that's listed hotels company in Hong Kong, for example, Shangri-La and such. So we range from about 2 to 2.5 million transaction, share volume trading a day. So that's actually quite healthy when you think about it. And yes, I feel that we are very much value, deep value. That's why, since we talked we talked January last year, Chuang, and in fact the share has doubled since then. We were at 90 cents then. Now, yesterday, we reached $2.
Okay, so the gap itself is narrowing. Well, we do wish you the best of luck with the rollout plan. And to revisit the Chinese wallet strategy in a not too distant future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That was Winnie Chiu, the President and ED of the Hong Kong listed value hotels group, Dorsett Hospitality International, BFM 89.9.
Be privy to expert views on the economy, distilled down to must-listen insights on The Breakfast Grille on BFM 89.9. Brought to you by the CIMB Group, Southeast Asia's leading universal bank.